Welcome to Sacred Harmony, where science meets spirit in the quest for true healing. Today's guest, Dr. Jonathan Locust, blends intellect with intuition, bridging psychology, consciousness, and transformation. From water fasting to hypnosis, from leadership to inner alchemy, he invites us to explore what it really means to heal and rise consciously. Welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
Mm-hmm. So your 24-day water fast was like a life-altering experience. What inner realization surfaced during that journey beyond the physical detox?
Yeah, it really was. I was in the middle of a health issue where doctors had told me that I would have to be on medicine for the rest of my life, as well as I would not be able to have another child. And that was the worst, I can say the worst time of my life. I felt like I was depressed and that there was really, kind of nowhere to go. And once I started learning about how other cultures use consciousness to grow from their experiences and how the mechanisms and tools they will use to do that. And when I learned about intentional fasting and how each of the experiences that we have and that we go through are connected to a lesson that we need to learn. So my entire goal during fasting and during meditation was to understand the lesson that was tied to my health issue. And I'll be honest and I'll be vulnerable with your audience because I know it's about spiritual healing. One of the things that I was dealing with was something called herpes. And as I started to meditate and fast, it took me back to when I was a child. I was molested when I was a child by women. And that then had a vibration to where I was introduced to something at a very low vibration and got to the point to where I was able to forgive the people who did that to me, forgive myself, and to really be able to find that after fasting and after meditation and that cycle of forgiveness and learning the lesson that was tied to it, I retested and had completely healed myself. And that was really the mechanism and the opening where I said, the inner alchemy is with us and it's tied to lessons that we need to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. And did it change your definition of what true nourishment actually means?
100%. Yeah, you're 100% right, because during that process, when you talk about like true nourishment, I think about it from a few different levels, right? The first, the bodily level. And one of the things that I had to do was to get kind of remove mucus from my body. So part of that nourishment meant eating things. So I juice. So I still juice to this day. I juiced a lot. I went vegan. I ate healthy. I drank alkaline water with low acidity, right? So alkaline is something with a pH, a pH of over 7, so more alkaline. So it was really on a bodily level with nourishment. I really ate different and really changed my lifestyle. And then when it comes to what I would call like the spiritual nourishment, and for me, that was, learning and reading things that could then be able to help me grow. And those were things like learning about quantum physics and learning about alchemy, practicing positively oriented magic, and learning about these different lessons. When you talk about nourishment, and I'll wrap it up with this, when I talk about nourishment, I think about how can my not only physical body, but my spiritual body receive what it is it needs. And I kind of went over through a process of, if the universe is the macrocosm, and our individual bodies being the microcosm, how can we align the energies in the universe with the energies of our body? That way we become more in alignment with the creator, with source, and with one. So a lot of it was not only physical nourishment, but spiritual nourishment in reading and writing, as well as in spiritual practice.
Yeah, like that's such a beautiful reflection. How healing often begins when we stop feeding the noise and actually start listening within.
Absolutely.
You created ConsciRise after facing betrayal during your healing. How did that pain transform into purpose?
Yeah, and thank you for that question. That's such a wonderful question. And when you talk about pain to purpose, because you're right, I mentioned at the beginning that was the worst, really the worst time of my life. But one of the things that happened is during that process, when I started to look for sources outside of traditional medicine, so whether that's integrative medicine, more energy, like healing, more spiritual kind of those practices, I came across people who tried to scam me and take advantage of. And that was what I found was the worst, with being at my most vulnerable times, of people trying to take advantage of me. And then I went on to find out, as I researched, my PhDs in research, started to research to see, well, has there been other people who have been through a tough time that have sought spiritual-based services, but someone tried to scam them? And I went on to find out that just in the United States alone, there has been over 8 million people scammed out of over $1 billion because there's not a space or a platform that vets its practitioners to see they are who they say they are, to make sure they have the correct credentials and verifications. And because that doesn't exist, people are being taken advantage of. And my career had been in higher education. So I know in higher education, when I was on a path of being a university president, any university has to go through accreditation. If you work in the hospitals in the U.S., you have to go through the Joint Commission. But in this industry, there's nothing like that. So it wanted to be able to, when I turned that pain into purpose, it was to not only to make sure that what people try to do to me, to create a mechanism where it does not have to happen to other people. So that's where ConsciRise came in, to say, how can people find community when they feel like they need it most? They can find a community of people that are there to support them, to where it's free. We're not trying to charge you anything to be a part of the community. And then if they are looking for other modalities that they can go about healing themselves, they can learn about those modalities and connect with the people who are offering them. ConsciRise does a 5-step vetting process with all of our practitioners. So the purpose was for people who are looking for spirituality, for consciousness, to find a community and to find a group of individuals that care, that are service to others oriented, and want to be able to see how we can go about bringing greater senses of spirituality to more people.
Yes, 100%. And do you think integrity is becoming a lost art in modern wellness spaces?
Oh my goodness, you are wonderful, wonderful question. And I think that you have hit you've hit the hammer right on the nail, because there is a lack of integrity in the space. And I think people are seeing, like, I'll give you an example, like in the US, Pew Research actually tracks spirituality versus religion. And in the US, like, Christianity is decreasing and people are identifying more spiritual. Now, I could consider myself more of a mystical Christian, so I'm not arguing saying that's good or bad, but what I am saying that people are looking at religion differently, and people are becoming more spiritual. So as people are seeing this, I think there are more people that are saying that maybe who are not full of integrity are looking at this as a business opportunity. And that's why you see there's been companies that have been sued, right? They've been sued because they have said or made claims or said they're going to do things that they haven't done. They've lied to people. They scammed people. So you're 100% right that there has been a lack of integrity in the space. And I think that because there are people that are seeing this not as an opportunity to serve humanity and spirituality, but as a way to just be able to make a quick buck. And those are the people that we have to be able to steer away from. And that's one of the reasons why we say you don't have to pay anything to be a part of our community. It's free. And if you like it, stay, join. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But we want to make sure that people can access information and community at no cost, because that's what we feel like a company that is focused on spirituality and integrity would be doing and should be doing. And that's why we're leading the way doing it.
Yeah, I love how you turned adversity into alignment. Like, it's a reminder that discernment is also a spiritual practice.
Yes, you're right. When you talk about discernment, that comes from, and man, you got some excellent questions. But when you look at, I'm always, in research, I'm always interested in the source, right? And where does discernment come from, right? Where does those inklings of intuition come from? And I would say from as I have researched and also have read some of the folks who I think have studied these things and studied it with pure intention, I believe that discernment and those things, I believe it's a way that our higher selves are communicating with us, and are communicating with us on ways in which that we can go to not only be of greater service to others around us, but to have a greater impact to helping others. And I think that discernment becomes an important part. And as one meditates and increases in their spiritual practice, like I meditate every morning throughout the day, the people that I'm meeting with and talking to, I send love, light, and positive energy. Even to you, even this morning, I sent you positive energy because I want you to have a beautiful day. I want your family to have a beautiful day. I want the people around you to have a beautiful day. So I do believe that discernment comes with pure intentions, comes with connection with our higher selves and with source, and then allows us to then be able to make decisions that are connected with discernment, that connects and serves ourselves and also serves the greater good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, you have worked deeply with hypnosis and consciousness studies. What fascinates you most about mind's ability to rewrite its own patterns?
Yeah, it's something, and I'll give a brief overview kind of from the two times that I did it. So I did a past life regression to where you can, under hypnosis, experience memories from previous lives. And then I did what's called a life between lives sessions, when you experience a previous life, and then upon death of that life, you would then are in a state to where you can understand the individuals that are helping you progress spiritually. So when you talk about under hypnosis, what has fascinated me about the mind is the way that curiosities can be answered. So what is fascinating to me is, and I know you've probably heard this with your seeking, that if you ask, you will get an answer. If you knock, the door will open. And I'm so fascinated with the mind is the way it can not only work through curiosities, but I personally believe that the mind does contain and has all, and that through our ability to learn, to grow, we can then connect. So when we talk about patterns, I'll give you an example. Like one of the things that I've had, I'm seeing as a pattern in my life is my first life. I was a corn farmer. I was white. I had a very lonely life. I did not have any family. I didn't have any friends, and it was a very, very lonely life. But one of the things that I learned in that life was the ability to not only to connect with self, but to connect with nature. And one of the things now, by way of not seeing the opportunity to connect with nature, and I was a corn farmer, so I even had an opportunity to connect with nature that I did not see in that previous life. So even now, in this life, I have an attunement more with nature. I spend time with the trees in my backyard. I spend time, even when I'm running, I'm connecting with the trees. When I breathe out, I know the carbon dioxide that I'm breathing is for the trees. So I've had a greater connection with nature. Another thing that I learned in my previous life, I was indigenous. So I was indigenous and we were fighting French soldiers. And in that life, I learned the atrocities of war, because from the planet that I come from, we don't have war. We were a peaceful planet. So we didn't have a lot of wars. We didn't have a lot of death. And that was one of the things that I know I'm learning. We learned through experience. And that was one of the things that I learned in that life was the experience of how others have the varying levels of vibrations that the creator, that source, allows us to learn from. And those are not vibrations that I had available on our home planet, but that I have the opportunity to learn and grow from and balance in this life. So when we look at the patterns, I look at the patterns of growth and the patterns that allows us to be able to have these experiences that are all tied to learning and all tied, but for us to be able to have the ability to be of service and help other people.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like the idea that remembering, not reinventing, might be the highest form of healing.
Yeah, you're right. Because, as and this is kind of just one of the things that I believe, but, I believe that there is, and they talk about it in psychology, there's an unconscious and there's a conscious. And I do believe that there's a veil between the two. And I believe as one starts to meditate, as one starts to become more spiritually oriented, that veil, that division between the two becomes more thin. And through the process of things like hypnosis and meditation and guys like you are able to have a piercing through that veil to be able to understand and to remember, right? Remember. It's remembering those that we are one, right? And that's why we come here, because there's a forgetting process, right? And through the forgetting, we're able to learn. We don't understand that while we're here, we learn through the forgetting process that we are all connected, that we all are one. And through having these different bodies, these different personalities, that just give our learning a different shade of this experience is just beautiful. But as we go through these spiritual experiences, we do then start to really pierce that veil. That veil becomes thin, and that thinning of the veil connects our conscious and our unconscious self, which makes us more one, connected to source, but also connects us more with our brothers and sisters and siblings around us and across the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, what an enlightening exchange. Thank you, Dr. Locust, for reminding us that healing isn't found, it's remembered. And to everyone listening, may you fast from fear, feed your spirit, and rise into the harmony that's been within you all along.